I'm going to do a whistle-stop tour through conversational AI and control. And let's start off with who am I? I'm a person who's been building conversational AI systems since 1982. I built my first on a ZX Spectrum, and I've sort of stuck with it. I've been running Elzware now since 2002, and we have always been a pure play conversational AI system. So 20 minutes, fireman's just been. What I would say is that the amount of ground I'm going to cover today is going to be very small indeed, and deeper conversations are available if you search me out somewhere throughout the rest of this year and into 2021. I am a huge critique of where we are with chatbots and conversational AI right now, particularly since the machine learning bubble, which we're currently sort of swimming within. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some snapshots of a system called the Echoborg, and it's a live performance piece, and it'll become clear as we move forwards, but this is what people say about it. Okay, so what that was the snapshot of a show which we made a couple of years ago now. The I Am Echoborg show, in a nutshell, is a performance piece where an audience negotiate with an artificial intelligence through a human being for the best possible outcome between humans and intelligent machines, which sounds sort of strange, but it sort of works. It comes from Milgram's work. It comes through the London School of Economics, where the term Echoborg was coined, and it's a very disruptive conversational generator. We've run some 50 or so shows now internationally. We took it back to the London School of Economics as well. And what I want to do in the name of control is just to put a few lines in the sand here as to who are the controllers on the basis of the broader marketplace here. And the basic control structure which we have underlying chatbots and bad conversational AI and control right now is all of this, is the big data and AI landscape. This is a couple of years old. I'm sure a lot of the venture capital underneath these companies has faded away, but a lot of them are still there with quite seriously grandiose terms about cognition and sentience and so on. The reason why that is because there is a phenomenal amount of money that has been put into artificial intelligence, not just conversational artificial intelligence, but all sorts. So this totals up to $74.2 billion. Who knows where we are in 2020? I didn't chase that through, but there's some other views which we could have of what and why artificial intelligence is such a pervasive, and conversational AI is such a pervasive element in our society right now. And this quite cool anatomy of an AI system, which comes from two investors, State of .ai, which they do every year, has got nothing other than the view of an AI system from Amazon. And this is essentially a grouping of who the people are that are involved in this. Now, within 20-25 minutes, there's no way I'm going to be able to unpack the rationale for creating logic or where explainable AI starts and stops. So we're just going to move forwards into some of the jargon which I think right now is damaging the conversational AI marketplace. And from listening to some of the other talks that have gone down so far today, there's a lot of talk, people being quite pragmatic about what is real and what is not. I gave a talk, why all the snake oil in conversational AI at the British Computer Society recently. And it's sort of in this area of so much jargon, so many people trying to make the definitive state towards AGI, augmented general intelligence or artificial general intelligence, And this is sort of getting lost. And what's bubbled to the surface is just chatbots. And really, this has been a great despair for somebody like myself and the legacy players who have been building in this marketplace for some 20 odd years. Companies like Artificial Solutions and Credit Virtual have been swamped by these promises of 5-minute developments, purely data-driven. And if you take a system like Tay and you put it up against a system like Mitsuku from Steve Warswick, which is artificial intelligence markup language, not artificial intelligence / machine learning, then you find out that somebody like Steve can build a system which is sophisticated and complicated and more controllable than something that is built by one of the biggest companies in the world. And I know that Steve is forever batting away people complimenting him on how he's used machine learning so well, and there is no machine learning. And to go back to Paul for a second, I think what I liked about that show there about artificial intelligence and a predecessor of the Echoborg system was in Second Life some, where are we now, 15 years ago. It was a spacecraft, used to live in a little virtual cage, and it had spatial recognition between the humans who were in the virtual world and it. So if you got close to it, it used to sort of jump about a fair bit. But chatbots came in and suddenly there was loads of them, and it was like everywhere, literally everywhere. But what we've got right now is that as the market and the VC has begun to start falling away, there's more of a don't say chatbot. I hear so many people coming to me and telling me that there are issues, real issues with the kind of low-level, button-driven, not much better than IVR kind of systems that exist on a lot of major companies' websites right now, which is a huge shame. So if we're not going to say chatbot, then what are we going to say? And here's a tiny little bit of sort of scraping that I did from an alert. So academia, there's a spelling error in that, academia.edu. I set up an alert on conversational AI and hybrid AI. Now, clearly, these terms are very subjective. Conversational AI, if you're listening to a marketing person from a big tech company, can mean anything, can mean nothing, can mean a naked emperor. If you talk to a marketeer from any organization, when they say, we want you to have a conversation with this brand, they don't mean a literal conversation, they mean a metaphorical conversation. Hybrid artificial intelligence as well can mean many things, but I've been tracking these, and there have been, over this period of 6 months-ish, 4,884 papers for hybrid AI and 1,344 for conversational AI. And the problem, as I perceive it here, is that there's just too much information. We're just swimming in information. So we could open up a box about smart speakers. Let's not. We could open up a box about how concerned people are about conversation. Let's not. Let's move into a live demo of what the IM Echoborg system looks like. And this is a theatrical setup. We're now doing this work in an online environment using the ubiquitous Zoom. And we have a show coming up at Talos, which is a science fiction piece fairly soon here. So what people say about it, what it looks like, what it's created from. It's created from, I sort of grabbed these on the basis of I look back on what I was talking originally to Kulvinder about when she and Sharon asked me to take a few minutes of your time here. And it was some of the words and phrases that are particularly laden. I had a long list of them earlier on, but this kind of algorithmic power stuff that we've got. I mean, the traditional and social media was full of this before COVID-19, and you know, happily some of that has backed off and given everybody a chance to just take a breath. Yeah. I think the kind of thing that we need to be conscious of is that even organizations like OpenAI, which you would want and wish to be in a position where they were adding some real value, are getting very lost. And the GPT-3 and the work which was done recently from The Guardian, who suggested that GPT-3 had written an entire article as a semi-sentient entity. And when it comes down to it, it was just like an intern level set of variables. I think we just need to grab and reduce the damage right now. So because what we have is, I mean, I've grabbed this randomly. There's any number of sensible-ish looking flowcharts out there in the world, but the issue is about actually getting to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter, we believe, Elzware and its associates believe, is to actually take people into a conversation with an AI which has a sophistication that breaks the boundaries. It breaks the fourth wall. It breaks the uncanny valley. So what we do is, in the online version, is we take people into a virtual theatre, which is lovely, darling. We encourage people to have backdrops. We bring them into the stage. This was the Cheltenham Science Festival. And what we do is, and here's a very simple graphic, is we allow a human to talk to an AI through an Echoborg. And the performance piece itself is set around the idea that in the future, there are no jobs apart from the manual jobs that are left, and the rest of the information jobs are people mouthing the words of an AI. Now, it's a bit of fun, but the AI is real behind the scenes. There's nobody typing it. It's a system which is retrained and evolves, and in a different conversation, we can maybe open that up. And I have another talk coming later on this month where I will be doing a more discrete, what is the difference between chatbots and conversational AI, to really show off some of the naked emperors, and to get to some of the, what are the realistic glassbox functions that you can use here. But this is the schematic that Rick Lander, who's my co-collaborator in this piece, put together. And this is what the system looks like in the online. So these are some pictures. This is the ACCU conference, 150 drunken C++ programmers trying to break our AI, which was hysterical. And this is back to the original piece. So I'm going to play you a couple of quick snippets of conversations that went down in the audience through or after the I Am Echoborg experience. So what we have as we go through all of these shows, and we've had them at many different levels, not just technocratic people, not just academic people, but all sorts of people. We were due to take this show up to the Edinburgh Fringe before it got cancelled. Let me just move on to the next one. So the system continues to push forwards and push people's boundaries to a point where they really start interrogating who they are rather than who the AI is. So what we've got to here is we've now got to a position where there's literally a space where people have entered where they do not have a solid grasp on what is or isn't real. They are beginning to argue and discuss amongst themselves about what it is to be alive. And I think that the kind of dumbing down that we have from smart speakers, where people will give away all of their personal data for Alexa to be able to drive Spotify or tell a joke or make a fart sound, is a bit of a problem. And it's an area that we need to push forwards, because I think this is the promo slide, which we've got here now, just to sort of draw a line on what we're trying to do here. For me, it's all about a sandwich. I've been building these systems for a long, long time, and what works in what layer of the sandwich is extremely important. Speech to text, text to speech, and the conversational AI heart are all plug and play elements. I trained at Logica in systems integration some 20 years ago, and this level of professional software development and the construction of conversation, which is not just training a black box and hoping that it will or won't create a legal issue, is the route forwards. What we use right now in a standard setup, we may use machine learning in the text to speech. We find that that's a bit clunky. Machine learning for speech to text is absolutely a requirement, although I am ignoring the enormous elephant in the room, which is the biases within the data. Machine learning within conversation, it's just not there. It can inform sophisticated rules-based systems, what used to be called experts. Give any names you fancy, but for me, it's a simple sandwich made in a way that you can replace the element. So there was a good problems to solve. I'm not going to read through these. I'm pretty much out of time. The slides are available if anybody would like to sort of look at them later. But I think what I would like to do is just to pick up on Professor Amir Sharif's notes earlier on about what is required for AI to flourish, and to just raise a flag here. What there isn't anywhere there is anything which is not computer science or mathematics. There's no social anthropology. There's nothing soft. There's no soft sciences in there. And as an anthropologist and a technologist, that's very close to my heart, because if we go from, as the professor stated, the mundane where the chatbots live, I'm sure he feels the same as I do about them, and moves into important, which is where the systems that myself and the people who work with me are doing, then we won't have to get to an exciting out of control car that may or may not be fiddled with or not, may or may not respond accordingly. We can get to a point where there is a controlled, understandable, hybrid approach. So this has been me. I've been Phil D. Hall, representing Elzware and its associates.